Dear all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Greetings from Beijing. Welcome to the IYF Special Dialogue on Youth Response to COVID-19. Being a virtual meeting, it is connecting all of us with a physical presence in more than 60 countries. Dr. Mariaza Oliveira, Director of UNESCO Beijing Office, and Mr. Qin Changwei, Secretary General of the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO, are with us here at the main venue at the Tencent Beijing headquarters building. The special dialogue is composed of three main parts: the plenary opening session, parallel sessions, and the plenary closing session. The two plenary sessions share the same VooV meeting ID, and the three parallel sessions have their own IDs respectively. Now let's start the plenary opening session. First and foremost, we feel privileged to listen to the message from Dr. Qu Xing, Deputy Director General of UNESCO.
Dear young friends, ladies and gentlemen, I am Qu Xing, the Deputy Director General of UNESCO, and I am delighted to be here with you today. The International Youth Forum on Creativity and Heritage along the Silk Roads, organized by UNESCO Beijing, the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO, and the Changsha and Nanjing municipalities, has become an annual platform where young women and men from over 100 countries share their views, learn, and inspire each other. With much of the world under lockdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the voices of young people have been never more important. Hundreds of you have joined us today from all around the world for this special dialogue on youth action and commitment. As the virus has spread, countries have been forced to take difficult measures, closing schools and businesses, and implementing lockdown and physical distancing. For young people already facing inequality, climate change, and conflict, COVID-19 has made the difficult situation even worse. More than 1.5 billion youth, over 90% of the world's student population, have been unable to attend school or university. Young women and girls are at higher risk of domestic violence due to lockdown measures. The economic downturn is eliminating employment opportunities for young people who have less work experience. But young people are strong, resilient, and creative, and have found ways to not only thrive, but also to help their communities. Young health workers are saving lives. Young artists are sending messages of hope. Young engineers are creating apps for contact distancing. Young teachers are building platforms and tools for remote education. Young designers are making masks and protective clothing. This is why UNESCO works closely with young people to encourage positive change in all the fields covered by our mandate: education, science, culture, and communication and information. This commitment was visible at the 40th session of our General Conference in November 2019, when we gave youth leaders the opportunity to exchange directly with heads of state, to voice their expectations and take part in decision-making. You are among the most talented and creative young people we know. For this reason, since 2017, UNESCO has supported your engagement in creativity, heritage, literature, media, and youth development through this International Youth Forum. Today, we have convened alumni from the International Youth Forum series so you can share your stories and actions to combat the pandemic. This special dialogue is a platform where you can voice your concerns and hopes in these uncertain times, share creative ideas and solutions, and build back better at the local and global levels. As essential agents of change, you can make good things happen for yourselves, for your communities, and for your societies. We need you, the world needs you, and UNESCO is fully committed to working with you. We are sure you will deliver beyond our expectations. I wish you all very dynamic and fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chu. In difficult times like these, UNESCO's role of building peace in the minds of women and men is ever more needed than before. Next, we feel honored to share with you the message from Mr. Tian Xuejun, Vice Minister of Education of the People's Republic of China, Chairperson of the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO. Mr. Tian is also currently the Chairperson of the 44th session of the World Heritage Committee.
Your Excellency, Mr. Qu Xing, Deputy Director General of UNESCO, Ms. Oliveira, Representative and Director of the UNESCO Beijing office. Dear young friends, I'm pleased to meet you online for the special dialogue of the International Youth Forum on creativity and heritage along the Silk Roads, and share views on youth response to COVID-19. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend my warm welcome and sincere greetings to all of you. The COVID-19 is now spreading in many places across the world, posing a grave threat to people's safety and health, and a severe challenge to global public health security. China was confronted with the challenges of the pandemic at an earlier time. The Chinese government attaches great importance to the fight against the outbreak and puts people's safety and health as the top priority. China has taken swift actions with openness, transparency, and a high sense of responsibility for global health security, and put in place the most comprehensive, rigorous, and thorough measures of prevention and control. Thanks to these arduous efforts, China has achieved major strategic outcomes in this battle. The pandemic once again shows that we all live in a community with a shared future. Solidarity and cooperation is the only way out of these difficult times. The Chinese people always cherish the notion that receiving drips of water when in need, one shall return the kindness with the spring. In times of adversity, China received sincere assistance and selfless support from the international community. At present, when the pandemic is still raging across the world, China has been actively providing support and assistance within its capacity. We propose to make a collective international response for prevention and control, and enhance international macroeconomic policy coordination. China also supports the role of international organizations, including WHO and UNESCO, in fighting against the pandemic. The youth are the most dynamic and creative group in our society, as well as the effective strength for social development. I'm pleased to see that in the fight against the pandemic, young people are rising to challenges, shouldering responsibilities, and contributing in various ways. In China, young doctors and nurses of post-90s generation headed for Wuhan and treated patients affected with COVID-19, racing against time to save lives. Young teachers delivered lectures through TV or internet, harnessing online teaching and learning to meet practical needs of students, so that learning continues when classes are disrupted. Young staff at World Heritage Sites provided virtual tours of World Heritages, interpreting their outstanding universal value and opening a window for those in quarantine to enjoy the natural wonders and the colorful human civilizations. I'm sure that in different parts of the world, young people are taking actions and overcoming the impacts of the pandemic through creativity. While the coronavirus is ravaging, other viruses like racism, xenophobia, blame dumping, and unwarranted accusation are also causing damage, casting a dark shadow over the global fight against the pandemic. In this context, it is especially important to promote the Silk Road spirit of openness, inclusiveness, solidarity, and cooperation. Young people should stand out and join hands for victory over COVID-19. In this context, this special dialogue serves as a platform for sharing experience, inspiring ideas, and promoting solidarity and cooperation among young people. Since 2017, the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO, in collaboration with UNESCO and the local governments in China, has successfully organized 3 sessions of the International Youth Forum. It has become a highlight event of UNESCO and attracted young friends across the world. We highly appreciate UNESCO's efforts to engage youth in achieving sustainable development. We stand ready to work with UNESCO to support you, UNESCO's priority group, to play an even bigger role. Dear young friends, as Chinese President Xi Jinping points out, the future of the world is in the hands of the younger generation. When young people around the world pursue their ideals and fulfill their responsibilities, mankind will have a more promising future, and there will be an inexhaustible source of strength to support the lofty cause of peace and development. We hope you could express your views, forge consensus, and make your own contribution to the victory over COVID-19. The achievement of UN Sustainable Development Goals and the building of a community with a shared future for mankind. In conclusion, I wish the special dialogue a great success, and I wish all the young friends and your loved ones good health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chen. Your remarks are very inspiring for the youth. We are very pleased to have Mr. John Crowley, Chief of Section from the SHS sector, to introduce the important work they are undertaking. Mr. Crowley, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all. Thank you to the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO and to my colleagues in the UNESCO Beijing office for giving me this opportunity to address you, which is extremely welcome in this time. A pandemic is never just about a virus and its biology. A pandemic is always something that reveals the nature of the society within which the pandemic takes place. And indeed, pandemics depend on human-to-human contamination of a particular pathogen, a virus in this case, and human-to-human contact, contamination, exchange is just another name for society. So unsurprisingly, the current situation reveals much about our societies, both globally and at more local levels. It reveals striking fragility, but also remarkable sources of resilience. And indeed, The very fact that such a meeting as this can take place at the global scale with participation from all regions through technology in the heart of a pandemic is a reminder that we do have sources of resilience and that youth activism can contribute considerably to those sources of resilience within our societies. UNESCO's concerns, as you can imagine, have been much focused on the fragility, but at the same time, much concerned with trying to boost the resilience. Among the things that have been shown to be fragile, let me mention just three, which are at the heart of UNESCO's mandate and have been central to UNESCO's action since the crisis began to become a global crisis from the middle of February. First, the enormous pressure on education systems, with the requirement to introduce, in an emergency, distance learning mechanisms that in many parts of the world had not really been experimented with. This has been surprisingly successful. Not perfect, of course, but remarkably successful in maintaining at least some key components of education systems in a very difficult context. One of UNESCO's tasks is to accompany and support that process of building resilience within education systems, and at the same time, learn from the opportunity that this offers to understand better how distance education could contribute positively to education systems, even when there's no health crisis. Similarly, the crisis has revealed the remarkable fragility of cultural industries. There was a recent communication from UNESCO just yesterday on the website about museums in the time of crisis. Cultural industries are at risk of disappearing if they are not publicly supported and helped to adjust themselves to the crisis and come out of it positively. Again, a core component of UNESCO's mandate, with many opportunities for resilience that we can build upon in order to ensure that cultural industries are not simply sacrificed to the pressure of the pandemic, but maintained in such a way that they can revive and resume more positively after the pandemic has ended. And a third area of fragility I'd like to mention, not one that I'm responsible for within the social human sciences sector, but very important for UNESCO, is the pressure from the pandemic on the media. Many media, including many independent media, have been virtually unable to function normally during the pandemic, print media in particular. Yet, as everyone knows, a vibrant media is crucial to a dynamic, productive, and solidaristic society. Therefore, UNESCO has been much engaged with its stakeholders in the media in trying to find ways of ensuring that the media can survive the pandemic and renew itself after the pandemic, perhaps using some of the lessons learned about new ways of working in order to move positively to the future. And in this respect, I'd like to close by affirming that what we're talking about here is precisely social transformations. All of the things I mentioned are aspects of social transformations. And what we need to understand is first, how could such a pandemic happen in the first place? Again, referring not to the biology, but to the social circumstances that made it possible for the world to be fragile in these respects. Secondly, we need to understand what it means to be living through this pandemic, living through a pandemic that is unfolding to some extent in slow motion, giving us the time but also the responsibility to think about it as it unfolds. And by doing so, thinking about what it means to be, to put it in very simple terms, the future survivors of this pandemic, reflect on what we can learn from how we dealt with the emergency. Every emergency shines a light, sometimes a rather unflattering light, on the society that it affects. Let's make sure that we use the light shone by the emergency to better understand our societies and better understand how we can reshape them. And that's the third point. How can we rebuild from this pandemic and from the responses to this pandemic a society that will be more resilient because other emergencies will come, whether of a pandemic nature or of other natures. And in the face of a pandemic or any other global emergency, the key values, the ones enshrined in UNESCO's constitution, need to be preserved through international cooperation. What UNESCO's constitution calls the intellectual and moral solidarity of humankind. The intellectual and moral solidarity has actually survived surprisingly well in the face of this pandemic, but with difficulties, of course. It shows that we do have something to build on, and through the efforts in particular of the younger generation, committed naturally to thinking about the world you've inherited and thinking about the world you wish to build in the future, we can build on that commitment to those values and on the evidence that the values can be maintained even in the most challenging times to imagine the world to come. And my final word will be to invite you to look on UNESCO's website at the new online forum that has been launched in the last few days to provide a focus for UNESCO's thinking about the world to come. We have just launched a series of videos by prominent women speakers from all areas of life and all regions of the world, reflecting on what the pandemic means and how the world can and should respond to it. More videos will be rolled out over the next few weeks. Other content will be accommodated. In its function as a global laboratory of ideas, UNESCO wants to promote a global conversation on these issues, one that mobilizes ideas from all intellectual arenas, oriented towards the practical task of making a better world from the future. Please join us in doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crowley, not only sharing us with the messages of the SHS sector, but also as UNESCO as a whole. In the battle against the pandemic, the medical staff are the soldiers at the forefront. During the past months, we have read so many stories about the delight and despair, stress and sorrow of the medical staff across the world. Now I would like to invite Dr. Lu Haoping, member of Peking University's medical team working in Wuhan from the darkest days in February until April 6, to share with us his personal story. Dr. Lu, I understand that you have just finished another day of hard work at your hospital. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Now you have the floor.
Thank you. Dear young friends, hello, I am Lu Haoping, a physician from Peking University's Third Hospital. As an ordinary doctor of the 19th generation, I did something extraordinary. From February the 7th to April the 6th, I worked as a member of national medical team and participated in the task of treating patients infected with COVID-19 in Wuhan. It is a great honor for me to be invited by the UNESCO and the Chinese National Commission of UNESCO to share my experiences and feelings. In this war against the COVID-19 epidemic, Peking University's Third Hospital sent 3 medical teams, a total of 137 doctors and nurses to Wuhan. Together, we took over an intensive care unit, through which 102 seriously or critically ill patients were treated. Thus, many families are able to enjoy a happy life again. Around the country, more than 42,000 medical workers gathered in Hubei province. Along with local medical staffs, we managed to safeguard the health of our people. February is the early days of the outbreak in Wuhan. But when announced the call for application to Wuhan, my colleagues and I actively applied to join in the medical team. We all knew that in such a situation, doctors became soldiers. And with the suffering patients in mind, with our motherland in heart, soldiers should never evade the call of times and duty. This is a day when we departed to Wuhan, and we started our work immediately. At first, days in Wuhan were rather tough. The number of patients with COVID-19 was quite large, and we needed time to get used to treat patients in that heavy and closed protective suits. Back then, the COVID-19 was a completed unknown virus. We didn't know how high the infectivity and mortality it was. We didn't know whether our equipment could protect us from the invisible virus. Unknown itself was the biggest source of fear. Despite the uncertainty, no one escaped. Everyone fought against the virus through their own ways. My teammates, local doctors and nurses, raced against time to treat patients. Volunteers provided the necessary assistance for us. Government officials were deep on the front line, with Madam Sun Chunlan, Chinese Vice Premier, heading the central government's working group. Even patients on sick beds touched and encouraged us deeply with their optimistic spirits. Yes, we all stand up and confront the challenges. Day by day, with deeper understanding of the disease, more and more patients were cured, and the number of newly infected cases in Wuhan gradually fell down to zero. The empty corridor is a great comfort for us. Step by step, Wuhan, the city of hero, went out of the shadow and sorrow. All of these achievements were closely associated with the braveness and sacrifices of medical workers, the strong support of the people, as well as the powerful and scientific management of our government. As a young doctor and a member of Chinese Communist Party, I am honored to dedicate my power and skills to where my motherland needed. The excellent skills of senior doctors, the strength and optimism of the people, the noble humanity reflected in the process, touches the deepest part of my heart. We, the younger generation, are taking actions. At the critical time of combat against COVID-19, Chinese President Xi Jinping flew to Wuhan, visited hospital and local community, and sent respect to medical workers on the front line. This is a strong encouragement to us. We, post-19th generation medical workers in National Medical Team, jointly wrote a letter to President Xi expressing our feelings, growth, and our determination to win. To our surprise, President Xi replied the letter very soon. In the letter, President Xi extended his regards to the young medics and all youths fighting the epidemic in various fields, and encouraged young medics on the front line to make contributions in places where the party and the people need. The belief of serving the people is both the aim of our party and the purpose of our government. The spirit of science, the spirit of seeking truth from facts, is both the weapon for us to treat patients and also the armor protecting ourselves. Wuhan has revived after 76 days still off. None of 42,000 medical workers supporting Hubei is infected. China could take effective measures in time. All these successes could not be achieved without this belief and this spirit. Nowadays, the pandemic of COVID-19 is raging worldwide and is affecting the work and life of people around the world. China has the ability and willingness to share the experiences to provide assistance in fighting against the pandemic and to protect the health of people, thereby working together with countries to build a global community of health for all. In times of the pandemic, the Silk Road spirit of cooperation, inclusiveness, sharing mutual learning, and win-win outcomes has been very important. It is also well reflected in the Belt and Road Initiative proposed by China. This is my story. This is the story of the younger generation. Moreover, this is a song of science, a poetry of protection, a chorus of courage, and a legend of love. My young friends, we are living in an interconnected community of a shared future. Let us join our hands to overcome the current difficulties, explore new opportunities, and make our world a better place to live in. I am looking forward to your wonderful speeches. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lu. All of us are immensely indebted to hard-working medical staff like you. Please do take care. Dear participants, now we have come to an end of the opening session. Please move to the parallel sessions. For your convenience, the Zoom meeting IDs are displayed on the screen. The parallel sessions will start in 5 minutes. And when you enter the meeting room, please change your name into a real name so that the moderators will easily identify you. Please come back to this Zoom meeting room at 8:20 Beijing time PM for the closing session. Thank you very much.
Session 1. I will make COVID-19 and youth action. In our parallel session 1, we have 3 parts. First one, it is introductory remark given by Valentina and Dr. Yapeng. And second part, we will have a speech like 6 friends will give a speech for 3 minutes each. And finally, we have a part with short talk, and then we have a 1 minute talk.
So, first of all, let's welcome Mrs. Valentina Sabuco to give us introductory remarks. She is a heritage protection practitioner. So, welcome, Mrs. Valentina. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me well. I'm extremely thankful to UNESCO for the possibility for me to be here today. I would like to share with some of you a consideration on what I believe should be role of people in the current pandemic, especially those of us operating in the cultural and creative sectors. In time of huge instability, the world of arts and culture has shown financial fragility, aggravated by the massive loss of revenue opportunities. And in parallel, the ability of communities to obtain tangible living heritage, meaning like rituals, festivals, has also been highly affected by the introduction of measures such as safety distances and no social gatherings. In this scenario, I think young people should operate at 2 levels. On the ground, using their creativity, fresh perspectives, and skills to develop their initiatives so that culture and art can continue having a key part in people's everyday life. And this should be thought together with site coordinators, museum directors, and all those managerial positions. For example, in the UK, a review of World Heritage Site is currently investigating what issues the COVID-19 is posing and what solution can be planned. And in this context, I participate in meetings of World Heritage Site coordinators to ensure that challenges impacting the youth in this sector are not forgotten. Similarly, young people need to collaborate with policymakers, politicians, and change makers to guarantee that the youth is heard, its need addressed, and its suggestion taken board. So, should we do this on our own? I think the answer is no. I think collaboration is key. And following this principle, in 2019, participants to the 11th UNESCO Youth Forum discussed the creation of a community able to gather young people from all over the world. And this community, named Young Youth Community Practice, aims at facilitating youth-to-youth collaboration and long-term cooperation between youth-led and youth-focused organizations, UNESCO, and its member states. The first initiative of this community is then called U-Action. And I give the floor to my colleague Ben to explain more about what this initiative consists on. Many thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Regina. And then let's welcome Dr. O'Rourke, the Rural Development and Cultural Heritage Researcher.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Valentina, for your introduction. And this is Yapo. So I'm currently a postdoc researcher in EU policy and urban development in Italy. And first of all, it's really a great honor to be here and dialogue with you all. And as we all know, the ongoing pandemic and the biggest threat humankind has ever faced in our modern times has greatly weakened the response capacity of both public institutions and the health system. And it is our belief that youth action, organized, coordinated, and professionalized, is critical to the relief of local emergencies and build up a resilient future. So we have therefore initiated the project WACTION, so which means Youth Anti-COVID-19 Task Force in Action. This is our very first initiative of YCOP. The aim is to actually offer to the global youth community a capacity building package regarding youth engagement in crisis response, to connect youth around the world, promote experience sharing, mutual understanding and learning, and collaborative actions, and pave the way for project-based cooperation among youth-led volunteer groups in the future. So this package is comprised of 10 videos showing different volunteer work mechanisms of emergency response and first-hand experience of youth-led initiatives that have been emerging around the world since the COVID-19 outbreak. Now I'm coordinating the first 3 videos about volunteer experience from China. So the first video will demonstrate the volunteer ecosystem from Wuhan, China, showing the background, different types of engagement, collaboration, and coordination, and achievement and lessons learned so far. And videos 2 and 3 will focus on 2 volunteer streams, namely internet-based assistance and on-site assistance, sharing the real-life stories and empirical experience of volunteer representatives. And regarding the rest of the videos, they will follow the same logic line and show the emergent stories and lessons learned from other regions around the whole world, respecting a geographic balance. We believe that this package will be an important tool to mobilize, organize, and empower youth-led voluntary groups worldwide to contribute to the global war against the COVID-19. And we are looking forward to have all of you as our very, very first viewers. And please follow YCOP for more and just contact us for any information regarding the YCOP and our initiative. Thank you.
Many thanks to Valentina and Dr. Oh Peng Yang. Now let's move on to next round of discussions by inviting 7 more youths to talk about their ideas, their thoughts about COVID-19 and youth actions. Please allow me to remind you, you only have 3 minutes each. Thank you. First, let's welcome Miley from Albania.
Hello everyone, I'm sending all my greetings to everyone. My name is Mary and I'm from Armenia. I would like to share with you my small presentation. It's about, I cannot share it right now. I'll try again. Okay. My topic is actions that youth could take in support of the fight against the COVID-19. And we know that...
Excuse me, when I with the screen sharing?
Yes, I would like to share a presentation, if it's possible.
We need to take a look at our time, and I think you can share the screen right now.
Yes. Okay. That's great. Thank you. As I said, my name is Mary. I'm from Armenia, and I just want to quick introduce myself. I did my bachelor degree in China, in Beijing, majoring in international relations and international affairs. My topic for this session is action that youth could take support in the fight against the COVID-19. I would like to introduce first. It is clear for everyone that youth represent energy, creativity, and innovation, and should be beacons of hope that can support the community at all times, especially in these hard times. Youth should gather together in the fight on COVID-19. And I just prepared 5 actions against the outbreak that youth can take. So the first one is medical students can volunteer to support healthcare workers during COVID-19 crisis. I think this is one of the most important steps that medical students can do. Students in their final years of studies in the fields of medicine, pharmacy, medical analytics, nursing, and medical rescue about the possibility of supporting the activities of the relevant sanitary and epidemiological services. They can work in their local hospitals or just do a volunteer job, which will be really very useful in these hard times. The second one is delivering food and sanitation. I think this is very common in many countries right now, and we can start with our community. Because you can start with your grandparents, with your friends, those who are in need. We can check in with them to see what they need, deliver them food, medication, and all they need. And you know that right now, seniors and others who are isolated, they need youth help. The third one is championing mental wellness. You know how many people are having a depression. But now, during this crisis, during the COVID-19, the depression's level is higher and higher. And I do think that championing mental wellness will be really very useful for those who are facing it. And youth can make it by social media or just with emails, with messages, and maybe we can just call out our friends and just make sure they're feeling okay. Because mental health is very important, and safeguarding mental health is very important during the pandemic. The fourth one is donate blood. So what I mean with the donate blood is that as the number of individuals with the coronavirus increases, fewer eligible donors will be able to give, making it extremely difficult for inventory to recover it if we get to shortage levels. So before the coronavirus, remember that people were doing donation and we were donating blood, but now because of coronavirus, we do not have this opportunity to donate blood. So I call out youth who are healthy. We can donate blood. Those who are in need, those who are struggling not from coronavirus, but from other diseases. And the sorry one,
Molly, you're running out of your time. Please be concise. Two more sentences. Sorry.
Thank you. This is the last one. Action 5. It's about fighting the right racism. You know, during the pandemic, a lot of Asians face racism, and I call out all the youth to fight racism by social media and by engaging with the international cultural volunteering jobs. So stay safe and stay healthy. I believe in youth strength. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Molly. I still want to remind all the speakers, you only have 3 minutes. Please be punctual. We have more youth and more colleagues who would like to join us to discuss their ideas and thoughts. So next, let's welcome Li Yihan from China. Yihan, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. This is Yihan Liu from Hunan University. During the coronavirus academic period, I initiated a social welfare project called Desk for Us with students from Peking University and Tsinghua University. The initial goal of this project is to provide one-on-one online teaching service by college students for the K-20 students living in Wuhan, Hubei province during COVID-19. As the virus was rapidly spreading out to the whole country, the range of our educational aid expand from regional to nationwide accordingly. At the beginning of 2020, when the breakout of COVID-19 hit Wuhan suddenly, the city was locked down due to security concern. My friend and I was filled with anxiety. Hubei is so far away from us that it's almost as if we could feel their suffering. We are the future generations of this country who are expected to share the responsibilities in contributing this great fight. But we are not licensed doctors, not the front lines, and we cannot mobilize medical resources for donation need. All we have is the beating warm heart, burst with determined will to do something. Then things take a turn for the better. I saw on TV that doctors and experts were selflessly struggling at the front line to fight the virus, regardless of their personal safety, and of course, greatly distracted by their work and did not have excess energy to care about their children's study. Well, the reaction of school terms was still far away. I suddenly realized that we could really do something. We want to build a desk for the primary school and middle school students in Hubei province whose study was greatly disrupted by this coronavirus, by providing one-on-one schoolwork tutoring to ensure their smooth transition from campus teaching to online study. And in order to target the primary and middle school students more accurately, we directly contact several communities from school districts in Hubei province one by one. And each time through our communication, we spend great effort to expressing our purpose. Hello, we are Desk for Us, a public welfare project aiming to help children with their studies. Hi, we're students from Peking University and Tsinghua University. The phone usually hung up abruptly before we could even finish our first introductory sentence. And it would be lying to say if we are not slightly frustrated by the community's ruthlessness. When one or two of them finally got through our introduction, they suddenly came in localizing we couldn't understand at all. Just when we were out of options, I successfully established connection with the frontline doctors in Wuhan City, including Tongji and Shehe Hospital. After they verified our college student identity, we immediately initiated a WeChat group with our group members for further coordination. We were so moved when we finally had a window to actually help the heroes on the front lines and to burden some of their worries. In the past 70 days, we started a social welfare project. Each day of the unexpected problems and great challenges, yet we managed to resolve them with our determination and persistence. It's hard to believe that 2,500 and 500.
I think it's the time for the next. Let's welcome. Let me see. Let's welcome Margot O'Sullivan. I know that the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation was awarded the third UNESCO Prize for Girls and Women's Education, which was awarded by the Chinese government. In times of the pandemic, the Women's Center is taking actions. Margot, where are your speech?
Thank you so much. The Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation is an agency that is mandated to address adolescent pregnancy in Jamaica. And we have the mandate of offering continuing education and holistic counseling to adolescent parents. The COVID-19, like others country, we have been very much affected. And so our centers are closed and we, as a staff, we are working from home. One of the things that we are doing is that we have trained our counselors to use social media and online platforms to enhance the delivery of counseling and to offer psychological first aid through telephone calls and text messages. We have also been identifying and responding to mental health issues gender-based violence, trauma, sexual and reproductive health issues, as well as coping skills, parenting support, and COVID-19 prevention measures. Another strategy that we have implemented, and we have done so before COVID-19, is to use our online platform to offer academic instructions. Not all students, however, have access to, whether it's smart devices or internet. And so what we're doing is trying to provide some of these adolescent mothers, especially those who are preparing for external exams, with those mobile units that they will need, and also the data plan. We have not been doing this alone. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, led by Minister Olivia Grange, and our board of directors have assisted us in providing dignity kits, which comprise of food items, baby supplies, and hygiene packages to our clients. UNICEF has also come on board in offering $2 million Jamaican dollars to support building capacity and adequately address the issues that the adolescent parents are facing now. Regardless of another agency, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, has also provided funding to assist those of our adolescent mothers who have returned to the formal school system with funding. So we are also grateful for that. Regardless of the challenges, we are making every effort to meet the psychosocial needs of our adolescent mothers and their babies, and by extension, their families. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Margot. Perfect timing. Now let's move on our next speaker, Royce from Philippines. Royce, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much. Good evening from the Philippines. I would like to share my screen. Alright, so the objective of my presentation is to raise awareness about the threats of COVID-19 to indigenous youth in the Philippines. First, I will give you a context about the indigenous communities in my country. The Philippines is actually composed of more than 7,000 islands, and we have 14 to 17 million indigenous people. These indigenous people are actually grouped according to 110 ethno-linguistic groups, which means that per ethnic group is a unique language. 61% of these 17 million people are actually nomads. These nomads make up 18% of the country's population. I have the specific case study that I will talk to you this evening is about the nomads. So nomads are actually a special group of indigenous communities because they are native, which means that they didn't convert to Islam or to Christianity. All over the Philippines and actually around the world, indigenous peoples are very important because they're bearers and practitioners of intangible cultural heritage, craftsmanship, performing arts, all traditions and expressions. It's very important for us to be able to talk about indigenous communities because they're vulnerable, not just in my country, but also around the world, especially now that we have a pandemic. They're very vulnerable because of poverty. They don't have access to health and social services. The nomads that I was talking about, actually, they live in the southern part of the Philippines where there is a political conflict. And in this political conflict, there is some militarization that's going on inside the part of my country, wherein there are destruction of school facilities. And it's getting worse now because, of course, there is the pandemic and some school facilities are used for military operations, which then not only are they having challenges to access social services, but more importantly now health services. So because of that, their schools are closed and they don't have access to education. And now they are displaced, and of course, they are victims of human rights violation. The displaced students that I was talking about earlier, they moved to Manila, the capital of the country, and now they're housed in a state university. This is actually the university where I did my bachelor's degree. As you would see in the slide, the ones on the left, this is their current condition. As you will see, they're wearing masks, but they're sleeping on mats. And because the reason why they moved to Manila is because they wanted to continue their education despite the political conflicts. And they're becoming more susceptible to the virus because, as you can see, they live in conditions, they're sleeping on mats and they're sleeping side by side with each other. And the only health service that they are accorded at this moment are from volunteers, from student volunteers who visit them from time to time so that they will be checked up or they would be given vitamins or some sort of health care. But basically, these are very few accorded services to them. And also, they're only given very few donations from different organizations. As you can see, their sleeping area is also their dining area, and this is also their classroom. But then, of course, despite the challenges that they're going through, as I've mentioned earlier, since indigenous communities are culture bearers of intangible cultural heritage, some communities have actually used their traditional textiles to create masks, as you could see, so that they will be protected from the virus. And I know that this is not only a problem that is being encountered in the Philippines, but also around the world, countries. I know in China also there are indigenous communities.
Rose, I'm sorry, time's up. It's really good format, so really sorry. And now it's Kakwan from Thailand. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Generally, I work as a writer and an exhibition designer for museums in Thailand. And I also work as a volunteer teacher at Saturday School Foundation. It is called Saturday School because every Saturday, volunteer teachers from various work backgrounds will go to the educational opportunity expansion schools in Bangkok and teach students the subject that they really want to learn. For example, cooking, photography, cover dancing, and for me, I teach board designing. And Saturday School has been operating for 6 years now. However, for this summer, we cannot have activities at the actual schools due to COVID-19, since we are not sure how long the period is going to be. It's quite worrying that students may have a learning setback after they take a break from school for too long and lost some of their learning abilities. So in March, our team tried to set up an online community called Saturday School Hub in Facebook, where students can meet their friends and their volunteer teachers again and do some activity together for a whole week, not only on Saturday. This doesn't help only students, but also the volunteer teachers who are now suffering from work from home burning out. So in Saturday School Hub, we have the subjects like photo from home, sharing tips of photo taking by using the house. We have English via cooking, since cooking became the trend in Thailand during the lockdown. And we also have quarantine dance, which is the K-pop dance tutorials for that allow students to have fun and do exercise at the same time at their home. So this is what we do in Thailand during the past few months. It may not be able to compensate for those time and experience that children would get from their real classroom, but at least during this tough time, even have to limit the social interaction, they still have a virtual playground that they can learn, play, and interact with friends and teachers again. So if you want to work in educational area like this, I would like to share later about how you deal in this situation, how you manage the online classroom like this. Thank you.
Next, we have 4 more speakers who have 1 minute to speak. And the first one is Adija from Kazakhstan. The floor is yours, and remember 1 minute.
So hello everyone, and I hope you all doing well and are strong and ready to take actions and the lead right now in this highly unprecedented time, so that we'll have a better future for our mankind. And here is the time for all people to cooperate and to come together to fight our common enemy. And in my opinion, as we live in a society highly influenced by digital technology, young leaders of the community should have to use the advantage of the social medias to provide people, the public, with accurate and valuable information, which may help to control the mental wellness of the public. This is certainly one of the most essential factors that we have to consider, as the value of the community is the key to beat this pandemic. Also, as Mr. John Crowley mentioned on the opening session, the world has to be socially transformed. So, as I think of that, only united we can have a bright future for the world. So, I think that's all for my speech. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, perfect timing. Let's welcome youth from Malaysia, Yi Wei Zhe. Floor is yours.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm speaking as a youth leader from Malaysia who has participated very actively into international cooperation of youth movements, predominantly youth movements to fight COVID-19 pandemic globally. I feel like one of the biggest troubles to effectively organize our efforts in this pandemic is the lack of utilization of resources we have in different countries. So in my work with Young Sustainable Impact based in Norway, we create the startups, we support the startups and provide mentorship to interesting ideas globally. And today our solutions, 12 solutions located in different parts of the world have impacted 100 million population between April and June from various digital resources and digital solutions. I feel like this is something that we can greatly utilize to bring the world together, to shorten our distances, and to do our best to stop the pandemic situation from worsening. Coming from a sports background, a sport development background precisely, this pandemic has greatly affected my work, and I think we should all do what we can to bring it to an end as best as we can. Thank you, and all the best to all of you.
So let's welcome Zhu Xiaolei from China.
Hi everyone, glad to meet you online. My name is Xiaolei Zhu, and I'm a neurologist in Nanjing Zhangtang Hospital. In February, I served as a volunteer doctor to Wuhan and stayed there for about 45 days. When I went to Wuhan, I found that many patients were suffering from anxiety and depression. Some even tried to commit suicide. So apart from medical treatment, I took extra time to chat with them and help them relieve from these psychological disorders, which seem to be an efficient alternative treatment. And I feel proud that these patients improved a lot after my consultation and treatment. So it makes a life experience for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaolei. Let's welcome Zhao Chi from China. 1 minute, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zhao Chi. I am a volunteer at Nanjing South Railway Station. On the second day of Chinese New Year, just like most Chinese people, I was with my family when I noticed a call for volunteers. I immediately rushed to South Station. Along with other young volunteers, we took over the task that arose from the outbreak of COVID-19. Some of us were measuring temperature for passengers. Some of us were guiding passengers to the toll due to temporary traffic control. The two of us were due was to answer questions and confront the anxious passengers. During the outbreak of COVID-19 at all public areas or local communities of Nanjing, you will find a volunteer just like me. Even international students that come from Nigeria, Pakistan, and some other countries join us to help. That's all. Thank you.
Anna, could you hear us from Pakistan?
Yes.
Yeah, it's your floor, and we'll come back to Shanxi in 4 minutes.
Hi, thank you. I'm Abdullah Shabir. I'm from Pakistan. I'm a medical student, and I'm also the founder and president of a youth organization called Together We Can Foundation. So we know that the corona pandemic has shifted how we live, how we interact, how we work, totally upside down. It has also impacted how civil society organizations and youth organizations in particular are functioning and addressing different problems. If I talk about my organization, we are facing two major challenges at the moment. First of all, not only do we have to work towards the problems that we were addressing before, like hunger, health access, education access, etc., but at the same time, we also have to work towards now protecting our communities against COVID-19 and the impacts that it's going to have on the people. So in these tough times, it is imperative that we use innovative approaches and creative approaches to use and leverage existing technologies that we have, and that it is, although meager, we have at the moment to bring about sustainable solutions to solve our current and new challenges that we're facing today. If I'm talking about my organization's examples of how we adapted and progressing in this tough time, we did two major activities during this lockdown. The first thing that we did was the COVID-19 ration drive. So in Pakistan, most of the people live under the poverty line. Due to the lockdown, they had no source of income, so we had to help them somehow. So what we did was we created an online network of volunteers from all across Pakistan. And we asked them to do two things in particular. The first thing that they did was identify people from different communities and localities who were in dire need. And secondly, we asked them to use WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, all available social media platforms to contact people they know, their friends, their family members, their neighbors, everyone they can contact, and ask them to support those families that we had identified before and kind of give donations. So in this way, using different online media platforms, not only we were able to engage hundreds of young people from all across Pakistan, but we also were able to collect around more than $1 million rupees. And in doing so, we helped around 500
seems like there's some problem with the signal. And then it seems like Xiaoxi has figured out how to speak. Yeah, let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, thank you. First, I have to say I'm not from Wuhan. I'm from Changsha, and this is greeting from Changsha, China. The emergence of coronavirus pandemic had a huge impact on everyone's work, study, and life. At the beginning of the epidemic, when many friends of mine were staying at home, I was one of the few group of busy people. My MACC team, Media Arts Center of Changsha, and I started the preparation of a 100-day countdown to IYF 2020. Looking at the number changing in the countdown board, we all hope that the epidemic would be over soon and we could meet in Changsha again in April. And of course, now we have IYF special dialogue, and I want to thank the organizers in UNESCO, Chinese Medcom, and teams in Changsha and Nanjing for getting us together online. And last spring, by chance, I enrolled in the volunteer of IYF3, and fortunately, after an open selection process, I became a formal delegate, and 3 days of activity really impressed me. I wanted to know what more changes can IYF bring to this city, Changsha, and young people. And driven by this curiosity, I joined the class ROCK after the forum. ROCK is short for Rapid, Open, Creative, and Key. It's a creative youth group supported by MACC, serving as a bridge between government and students. And in class ROCK, I learned that the preparation and holding of the forum is not easy, but very interesting. And luckily, I became an intern in MACC. During the epidemic, my partners and I were preparing a new version of IYF. And we also concerned about the global epidemic and thought, how can MACC provide assistance to young people around the world? We sent children posters to other creative cities to express our support and blessings. We held online art residency and exhibitions with Planet P8. We also deeply participated in the planning of C+C Global Youth Innovation Partnership Program. All of these projects were the implementation of Changsha Initiative,
that we all together released in our X3. And I believe that these activities can provide more opportunities and platforms for young people during the epidemic. And in this special dialogue, I'd like to know more of your thoughts and good deeds. And I hope that more and more young people can participate in IYF and get together in Changsha. I firmly believe that the epidemic will be finally over, and someday in the coming future, I could meet all of you, old friends and new friends, in IYF4 in Changsha. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the chance. Here in Afghanistan, we have three major problems. The first one is the war is still going on. The armed conflict is imminent, and the insurgent groups. And the first major problem is a corrupt and incapable health system. And the third major problem is the religious beliefs, which is the biggest problem here in Afghanistan, because the religious people are in the groups here in the local people. So when they do not even now, a lot of them do not believe in coronavirus, that it's there. Some of them say that it's only for non-Muslims. Some of them say it's only a political game, and some other ideas. So what we did, I mean, the religious people has a lot of energy, which is negative. In Afghanistan, they used their energy in negative way. But what we are doing to convert this negative energy to a positive energy, we achieve their goal without them. So what we did, as we all know, that there is no a specific treatment for this disease. The only thing is to give the patient moral.
Okay, I think it's about time. Wadi, hands up. It's about time.
Okay. Hello from Europe, Romania. I'm happy we can now reconnect and share our experiences once again. Like our colleague from Afghanistan said, the people here don't believe the virus exists. Most of the people. 2 months ago, life turned into a nightmare. My own home city became the Wuhan of my country. For 2 months, it was under full lockdown. People volunteered, but were forbidden to leave or enter the city, and everyday life changed. Almost all doctors got ill in the only hospital, which became quickly a cemetery. 1 month ago, the nightmare turned into a living hell for me and my family. My father, a pioneer of the civil society in my home city, a person that continuously helped others around him, was killed in this hospital by the coronavirus in just 4 days. He was 57 years old, generally healthy, and we last spoke 1 day before he died. He did not expect to die. I want to share with you what I learned from this experience. Regardless of our age, health, social status, and expectations, we are all equal. We are all equally in danger. And if we want to have the highest chances of survival, we need to act united. We have to act efficiently. Let's try to help each other. Let's try to remain healthy.
Well, we're so sorry to hear that. We're here with you. So let's continue our discussion. So next is Chen Chen from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Chen Chen from China. So I want to talk about how young people can take COVID-19 as an opportunity to push forward sustainable development goals through our own action. As I'm studying and researching on climate and energy transition in Sciences Po Paris, I would like to give you an example in this field. So an important paradox for small island states is that while they are among the most vulnerable to climate change, they are also heavily reliant on fossil fuel industry and unsustainable tourism, which are the two sectors that have suffered severe impact from COVID-19. So I think young people can really take the chance to push forward a more sustainable and resilient economy by speaking out on social media, conducting social, sustainable projects, and advocating for tighter environmental legislation and faster energy transition. So the key is really to find the link between COVID-19 and the goals we personally want to push forward, using our own expertise and knowledge and build our own narratives around it. Thank you.
Mr. Liu Yang, our last speaker. We're running out of time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Liu from China. I think during this period, we have seen a lot of misleading information on the internet. Well, actually, some of them is deliberately created to attract attention or to used as political tools to throw accusations, which in fact will only make things worse. However, in this fight, what will work and what we want is international collaboration rather than accusations. So, how to combat the misinformation? I think as young people, we should. To some extent, we are proficient in using the internet, and thus it is our duty to voice our opinion and to have open dialogues like this. And in this global pandemic, we should stand closer together than ever before to face our real enemy, the virus. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the sharing and for the great discussions. We are running out of time, and hope we can continue our discussion online even after the forum. We can continue our discussion via social media, via emails. We hope all can stay connected. And now let's move back to our plenary session.
Hello everyone, welcome to section 2 of our the session is creativity and entrepreneurship. This session is comprised of two sections. First, we will have an introductory remarks, and second, we will move on around the speakers. Please note that when it's your turn to speak, you will receive an alert. And when you receive the alert, please click unmute so that we could be on board. And the web control for our session is Ms. Hannah Gettertree from the United Kingdom. She will speak on our behalf at the closing session later this evening. So without further ado, let's welcome Ms. Hong Yang, representative from Tencent, to deliver the introductory remarks. Please, Ms. Hong Yang.
Hi everyone. Hi Ms. Hannah. Good to see you all. I'm Hong Yuan. I'm very happy to share some perspectives from our work and practice in Tencent. For those who don't know Tencent is one of leading internet companies in China. We are serving up to billions of people every day. Tencent has a long history of collaborating with the UN, and the pandemic has just brought us even closer. Tencent became a global partner of the UN at the end of March. We will support hundreds of online meetings and survey polling to celebrate UN 75. Earlier this month, UN in China and Tencent jointly launched the campaign of Chinese Youth Dialogue on the Future to discuss topics about Sustainable Development Goal. The theme of today's special dialogue is youth response to COVID-19, and some of our past collaborations with the UN also centered around youth. The UN Under-Secretary General, Mr. Ho Chao, once said, Tencent's technology and global influence is particularly important to enhance the UN's capability to reach out to youth. Actually, Tencent is a platform where youth come together. We started from QQ, an instant messaging social app for young people. Its icon is a very cute penguin. And now there are close to 700 million users active on QQ every month. Most of them are youngsters, even teenagers. And social networking is just one of the many things they like to do on our platforms. They also come to listen to music, watch videos, read novels, play games, enjoying anime, and so on. Moreover, a lot of young people is willing to share their own creative work on the platform. Some of them even grow into professionals and deliver creative works in this content creation industry. We can expect there will be great writers, musicians, movie directors, etc. coming among them. At the time of school closure to the pandemic, young people continued to have classes on Tencent's online collaboration platforms. Sometimes they are not happy with that because they have to take classes. This includes young teachers and also students. They try best to keep learning not to stop, and Tencent is here to support. Recently, we were invited to become a member of the Global Education Coalition launched by UNESCO in support of providing distance learning tools to teachers and students over 100 countries and regions globally. COVID-19 has impacted our life, study, and work significantly. It is the worst of times for a lot of young people across the world. At staying at home, we feel lonely, terrified, and sad. Our heart calls for comfort. Those time-honored traditions and cultures stand as the best legacy passed down to present day. They are healing and warm. They cheer us up with determination to win. We realized now than ever before that the conservation of heritage is so important that it's responsibility to whole human being, and inheritance of traditions needs creative presentations to adapt to our times so that they will be seen and heard by more people and are able to inspire and attract the young minds. Tencent is dedicating efforts into new culture creativity strategy, willing to encourage and attract young people to join us. Let youth creativity brings world heritage to life. For example, over the past years, Tencent has established strategic partnerships with the Palace Museum, Donghuang Research Academy, Mausoleum of the First Qing Empire and the Great Wall, and France National Museums Union, among all other world-class cultural and museum institutions. And we promote a lot of creative works from youth. Let's work hand in hand, help cultural heritages along the Silk Roads continue to shine in the next millennium. Thank you.
So first, we will welcome Mr. Rodney from Zimbabwe. Rodney, are you with us?
Yes, I'm there. Hello, everyone. Greetings, and I would like to thank the organizers for this great event. I think it's really fruitful and we learn a lot from the other young people around the world. But mine is not really an intervention, but it's just a display and an explanation what us as young people are feeling and the perspective of what we can do in this pandemic. The world is actually battling this deadly pandemic, setting the global economy on fire, and millions of young people are in confinement. The current health crisis has devastated lives and business globally, and we do not know how much worse things will get. So we see enormous global ramifications of the creative sector, a creative sector that contributes to youth employment, more than 8 billion jobs, into social cohesion in Africa. The pandemic has affected the creative value chain from creation, production, distribution, and artwork considerably, weakened the professional, social, and economic status of many. And the young people are almost 3 times unemployed than the adults. So despite these terrible impacts of coronavirus, there is a silver lining. That's actually the title of the topic. So there is a silver lining beyond this. The pandemic necessitates creativity and innovation of young people to provide new solutions for the global economy. Albert Einstein said we cannot solve a problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them when they were created. So being in the face of the fourth industrial revolution, where digitization and automation is driving the economy, it is actually imperative now more than ever that equipping young people with the right skills to solve the problems they and their communities face. As young people, we are actually bored, we are restless, we are constricted and desperate to invent new things that pulls us away from this stress. So young people are often tech savvy and innovation, as well as being playful, creative and curious. And now is the right time to give the young people tools to develop innovative digital environments and platforms. Over the years,
Thank you so much. Please note that each speaker will have only 3 minutes, so we will stop. We'll have to stop you, but thank you so much. Next, we'll welcome Guan Lu from China.
I'm Luban from Nanjing, and also a founder of a student startup company. Our customers are universities and government parks, providing them with professional technology service. In the past 2 years, we have made some small achievements. However, sorry, I'm back again. Now I'm Guan. So I think everyone can remember me. I'm Luban from China, and I'm in Nanjing. So I will go away. Our company has a great shot during this time. It gave me a lot of time to think how to go over this special time. So we acted at once. Our customers are universities and the student and the government parks. Although the universities are not open yet, but the students' daily courses and the teachers' work haven't stopped. Since the condition of serving customers offline cannot be realized, we changed our thinking and developed the online system. We seized the opportunity to help the universities to solve the work of their teaching and the projects consulting and the competition management. They do all their works online by using our custom-built system. For example, students can fill in projects, mentors register, check projects, and communicate with students. And the school administrators can organize project roadshow on the platform. Our system is digital, intelligent, and efficient to meet the needs of our users. We have received recognition from several universities. At present, we have applied for 5 pieces of intellectual property rights. This online product development has tested the resilience of our team. In the challenge and the complex area, young people should not only adapt to the environment, but also learn how to overcome adversity and turn it into an opportunity. More important is to be confident and be ready. As Judah said, all shall be well. We live in a city of literature with a long history and fraternity. We are a young team full of vitality and confidence. There must be very many difficulties and challenges on the road in the future, but we firmly believe that as long as we maintain a positive and optimistic attitude, seize the opportunity, go forward, take advantage of everything we can take, we will be able to break through the new area of our contemporary youth. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your entrepreneurial endeavors, and I'm sure it will make a great impact. Thank you so much. And then we will welcome Ms. Wu Shen from China.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Could you speak louder, please?
Sure. Is it better now? Hi, everyone. This is Mei Xuan from China. This year has been so disruptive and special for everyone all over the world under the COVID-19's impact. We especially youth are facing unprecedented challenges through the crisis. As many participants shared before, the economy depression, high unemployment rate, challenging job security, and so on are all making us always stressed. However, there is always a flip side. Awareness are always at the side of challenges. We could change our mindset. Rather than seeing challenges as burdensome forces of opposition, we could see challenges as opportunities. Opportunities for us to learn, grow, improve, or adjust in a way that leaves them better off than before the challenge existed, right? I think challenges do inspire youth with creativity and entrepreneurship in every aspect. Taking the education field as an example, after COVID-19 outbreak, 9 schools were closed and they started distance teaching and learning. Although online learning is not subject to physical locations, there are still many drawbacks such as technology obstacles, low-class engagement, constraints of teaching from home, and difficulties with younger learners require an even greater amount of support from adults than other age groups. But under the high pressure and disruption, I see that most educators are actually shining even more with amazing creativity and entrepreneurship spirit. I myself am an early childhood educator who works in New York City now, and I teach 3 years old and 4 years old for this year. This teaching and learning for this age group is particularly challenged under current situation due to this age's high reliance on adult support and short attention span. Many parents are struggling in supporting kids and working from home at the same time. Educators don't stress about online classroom management because of their limited attention span of younger kids, which is usually around 5 to 8 minutes at maximum. Also, other challenges include how to balance synchronous and asynchronous learning time, how to make asynchronous learning meaningful for kids, and also manage balance. So, facing all those challenges, I see educators demonstrating their capabilities and their strong self-learning skills. I'm taking my colleagues and I as an example. From learning online teaching platform to creating new teaching modes, from experiment to teaching to regular practicing and creating, it took much more effort. So exploring and learning how to provide high quality distance learning for students. I also all the details, but I have to say creativity and entrepreneurship are there as well. For example, when we plan synchronous activities for students, we be mindful of that, like all the materials required should be accessible for every kid at home, but also content which should cover all the subjects with teacher at school. Taking doing a simple collage artwork as an example, we would encourage kids to use all those open materials, all those recycled materials that they could find at home. I just do it. This is one of my students who did the artwork at home. This is a tray. We made this tray with the toilet paper roll and the tissue, and this is like a storage box you can find at home. So you can see, actually, this is also how kids can transform all those powders into things. So I felt so bad that I saw them struggling under this unexpected distance learning, and I think this is also how they transform. And also, I think this is how educators make challenges to opportunities to take in the entrepreneurship.
Apologies, we'll have to stop you. Thank you so much for sharing your insight into the challenges in education and to that development. Thank you so much. We'll have to move forward. So next, let's welcome Olivia Scribas from Lithuania. Apologies if I cannot mispronounce your name. Please.
Hello everybody, I'm happy to see you in a healthy condition, and you did pronounce my name very correctly, Ovidius. So I would like to focus on today's topic on creativity part, and I would like to talk about youth, about the creative way of thinking and initiatives during these trying times. So one of the first initiatives I would like to focus on, and all of them are from Lithuania, where I'm currently based and living. So one of those are car parking cinemas. And this is one of the initiatives when people are coming, it's all-time initiative, when people are coming in their cars and watching cinema. But the positive part of it is the mental improvement of people, and also during this parking time, the cars that are parked are being disinfected by the truck. So it's also additional value of this activity. Also, one of the nice events in Lithuania was that there was outside concerts by the hospitals where the young indie artists were performing out of the hospital to support the medics and doctors who are within the hospital inside the building, and they can listen and watch the concert through the window. Also, it was happening for simple people in the apartments. So where there was inside yard of an apartment complex, people were performing some concerts to uplift the mood of the people who are living there. Nice initiative of younger people that they did was they were trying to look for computers, because some kids who were forced to study from home via internet, they were also were lacking computers. So people, youth was trying to gather more computers for children to study from home. Online museum and concerts were broadcasted and allowed to explore via internet. As one of the speakers from the opening ceremony highlighted, culture needs to survive in these trying times. So in this case, we should still ongoing cultural activities. Online database for volunteers was created, so all organizations that are in need of volunteers could find some volunteers. Everyone who has 3D printer inside their homes were invited to print face shields for doctors. So it was also younger people initiative. Basically, it was focused on libraries because they have 3D printers, but also youth was invited. Blood donation, because we still need the blood for transfer some people in cars, etc. But now in these a bit dangerous times, youth was invited to come to donate blood. Children was painting paintings for doctors to improve their mood in hospitals, and also young artists were selling their art and donating all income for people in need and for doctors. Free online dancing classes was created, and free meditation online classes was created for simple people to uplift their mood while they're in home. But also simple volunteering, starting from walking the dog or bringing warm food every day was created. Such initiatives, which is crucial for people who are for people who cannot go outside because they belong to that risk group. And Red Cross volunteers were created a database in preparation in case the more volunteers are needed in coming times. So those activities are mostly based on volunteering, but I do hope that during later times, people will be understanding volunteering better and they see the outcome of volunteering better. So in this case, people will enroll in volunteering even after pandemic, much more actively and engaging than before pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing how you are committed to having Thank you so much. Next, we will welcome Johnny. Are you with us?
Yes. Hi.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's no everybody. Hi everyone. I am Jiang from Nanjing. My job is about campus news editing, mainly new media. As we know, COVID-19 is severely impacting the global economy. Information reported makes everyone start to worry about the challenge that the pandemic may bring. Young people need to think about to take further steps and how to deal with problems that may happen in the future. Proper foresight of professional area, a long-term plan with the difficult position of the things we should do. Although COVID-19 made us stay home for months, we started to focus on ourselves more than ever. For example, as we learn online, or online commercial activities are exclusively appearing in our daily lives. I started to spend more time on learning new skills about new media. Besides my job,
I am interested about coffee industry, so I also help some local cafe owners to do online promotion. Under the hardest time, one of the famous local cafe named Uni used the Taobao, an online shopping platform, to keep their business survived. This cafe is special for professional service and special coffee beans, so words online should rely on beans flavor, baking methods, agricultural specialties, geography, and so on. The most important thing is to let us know how to make great coffee when we stay at home. It requires staff has professional selling skills to work like this, so they can be competitive. Online news showed that there are lots of Wuhan cafes offered medical staff free coffees every day. So Uni decided to send them espresso coffee beans for free in order to support Wuhan coffee industry. Youth seeking new opportunities to keep running their business online and also with some public service amid the epidemic. We didn't choose to behave like this, but the time makes us do. That's the reason why local youth decide to keep doing what they choose to do. The champion of 2019 World Brewers Cup, the barista of Uni, Ms. Jianing Du, said, "Those unpredictable changes made the life tough now, but it also let us know how to survive and get stronger. We've seen dark side in the battle against the COVID-19, but the bright side still encourage us to stay strong and be kind. Abilities might be limited, but youth can also be helpful on the things we are good at." So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Indeed, there are more business opportunities that call for youth creativity. So thank you so much for sharing. So next, we welcome Ms. Samuel from Burundi. Are you with us? Okay, I guess we don't have him online. So we'll start for now. These indeed have been very meaningful and interesting presentations. So thank you so much, the speakers, for sharing. And now I believe that other participants in the session also may have some words to say and some thoughts to share. So now it's time that we go on the table. So each speaker will have 1 minute to make a presentation. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand so that we could move the floor.
So this is Abdul Wahab from Sultanate of Oman. In line with the pandemic situations, we have actually contributed to create more than 60 opportunities in the youth as job opportunities in the flexible manner. So people or youth basically can work remotely and in a flexible manner without restrictions of time zones, without restrictions of the location, the physical location. And those youth have been directed to 19 different portfolios by which within a short time they will be having a private equity on them. So such opportunity that has been granted to youth, we have been seeing different skills level that has been captured in the surveys that we have distributed, and high skills level also has been captured in terms of the CVs in comparison also to some examination that we have done. So this is what we have done regarding the situations with youth losing their jobs in the recent times.
Thank you so much. If there is anyone else who would like to present their thoughts, please raise your hand.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, okay, my name is Kito and I'm from South Africa, and a bit of a, and I'm based in Shanghai in China. And so, you know, before COVID-19, I was in South Africa, and then just before borders closed, I then actually made it back into Shanghai. And what that has resulted in is focusing on creating entrepreneurial communities within youth and being innovative about how to build entrepreneurial communities that support like different activities, so different means of business, and that's been through an organization called Taranga Valley, which is a kind of a group where we host events and sessions and webinars on entrepreneurship. But what we did is we broadened the focus to actually focus on the kind of the psychological and the well-being side, because a lot of entrepreneurs during this time, especially solo entrepreneurs and creatives, are not able to actually go out and earn an income, and that also has a huge impact on their well-being, their state of mind. So in order to actually just keep creative, keep the cycle of positivity during this time, what we opted for as a community and as a group at Taranga Valley was to actually just keep online events going that focused on well-being, that focused on how to build during this time, and focused on circulating information on how to scale opportunities that are present during this time.
Thank you so much, Kitson, for sharing your entrepreneurial activities, and I sincerely hope that you're going to achieve greater success. So thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else who would like to make some input? You sure?
Hello? Hello? It's so nice to see you again. I'm Yushe from Beijing Language and Culture University of China. And I want to share you our experiences to overcome the language barrier in the fight of COVID-19. There are a lot of challenges in the fight of COVID-19, and in China, there are various dialects. And especially in Hubei province, there are over 100 dialects in Hubei. So the medical team in Hubei province, especially the non-local medical teams, will suffer the differences, will suffer the challenges of communicate with the local peoples who suffer COVID-19. So my university, which is Beijing Language and Culture University, do a great challenges in the development and application of the toolkit, or you can call it a software or a guidebook to have the translation between 9 main Hubei dialects and with the Mandarin. And there are 156 words and 66 sentences in this toolkit. And you can search the words of the sentences, and you can pronounce in both Hubei dialects and Mandarins. So, as a student and as scholars who are special in linguistics, we devoted ourselves in the fight of COVID-19. So I want to listen more about your experiences to overcome the language barrier and some other challenges in the COVID-19. And later I will share this software in the WeChat group to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rishan, for sharing the work that you have been doing, which I think it's indeed very important in terms of overcoming language barriers. So thank you so much for sharing. Are there anyone else who would like to speak? So I guess we will give the floor to our rapporteur, Ms. Hannah Getachew. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Would you like to make some remarks or some reflections or raise some questions?
Thank you for that. And yes, you pronounced my name perfectly. COVID-19 has changed the world forever. Once the world has defeated the virus, there will remain lingering signs of its impact. A poll conducted in the UK, where a lockdown has been underway for many weeks now, shows that only 9% of people want life to return to exactly what it was before. With the global economy taking a hit and oil prices reaching negative figures for the first time in history, this is the time for young people to consider the future we want to build. One area where this is highly relevant is that of climate change and environmental protection. Right now, we're seeing calls worldwide for a green recovery that prioritizes government investment and regulations in favor of people and planet. Together and individually, young people have the capacity to come up with creative ideas that can make a green recovery a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for sharing. Are there anyone around the table who would like to make some inputs, make some remarks? Tina, Yasha, hello. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, I'm Afenish. I'm Savingana from Zimbabwe. I work with Concord Young Men in Business, and I'm also a representative for SADC AU IBA, MOSFA Treasurer on Agriculture and Fisheries and Agriculture as well. So we have would really say that connecting socially has really helped us to keep up with each other in our business, and also calm us our mindset and not to panic too much. So we have created a platform. For this year, our theme was on health, so we managed to get hold of everybody who is into medicine, natural herbs medicine, so that they can have their online platform, so that they can do their presentation while all of us are watching, and also be able to create a marketing. We just said we're going to open this platform during this pandemic for everyone to bring in new ideas, bring in new marketing, broad themselves for their businesses. Everybody is still in a panic mode. A lot of things are changing when it comes to entrepreneurships. Some people have lost their clientele, but we are trying as an organization, as a group, to bring in a lot of knowledge to enlarge their marketing as well, to enlarge their mentorship, and for them to broaden their mentorship as well, and connect with a lot of people that and outside clientele out of their regions. So I really hope this also part of this meeting, part of this presentation, also can help some of entrepreneurs like us also in Africa to know where to start from after this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I indeed appreciate your commitment in the entrepreneurial endeavors, and I hope this platform could help more youth in your country to also usher in more creative thoughts. Thank you so much. So, do we have anyone who would like to make some new inputs? Okay, if there's no one else who would like to speak, we'll wrap up for now. Thank you all so much for joining this session and for contributing your valuable thoughts. And thank you so much, and we will stop for now. And at 8:45 p.m., we will see you all at the closing session. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Welcome to the session on cooperation, inclusiveness, and mutual learning, Silk Road Spirit in time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our session will break down into 3 parts: introductory remarks, 3-minute speeches, and 1-minute ones. Now, if you feel like joining us later at the 1-minute speeches part, please feel free to click the hand raise button anytime from now. And now, let the session begin. As you just heard just now, that in this session you will get opportunity of sharing your deep understanding of Silk Road Spirit and your creative ideas on how to harness this Silk Road Spirit to cope with the current challenges due to COVID-19 pandemic. So before listening to your voices, please allow me to welcome Mr.
Mehrdad Shabahan from UNESCO Social and Human Sciences sector to deliver an introductory remarks. I do believe his working experience of being project officer of UNESCO's Silk Road program will enrich your ideas. Okay. Madam, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My dear friends, I say you hello from my home as we are in Paris in lockdown right now and we have to teleworking. I have to confess that it's a great honor for me to participate in this forum. I would like to thank the National Commission of the People's Republic of China and my colleagues in UNESCO Beijing office for organizing this forum. Dear friends, as you know, needless to repeat, humanity is undoubtedly witnessing a rare and historic moment. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has already upset different societies, and according to different experts from different fields, it would have deep social, economic, cultural, and international consequences with considerable impact on our thoughts, behaviors, and lifestyle over the coming decades. This radical impact in such a scale would seem somehow frightening and have already caused the lively responses facing the day-to-day challenges of the pandemic on the one hand, and also the uncertainty about the post-pandemic context on the other hand, have already resulted in disproportionate reactions in local, regional, and international levels. Needless to recall here again the sad sense of mistrust, intolerance, and mutual ignorance and accusations that are happening all around the world nowadays as a result of this pandemic. In short, such context would cause serious threats to the sustainable peace and development as well as the human dignity. In this situation, recalling the spirit of the interactions along the Silk Roads would be pertinent, because the history of these exchanges reminds us that the eruption of the pandemics and epidemics are not new phenomenon. During human history, wherever people, animals, goods have moved, in addition to their enriching effects, undesirable phenomena such as disease have also been transmitted on a broad scale. Historically, trade and movements have inevitably played a major role in the spread of disease along with infected merchants or travelers. The most outstanding examples of this transmission of disease would be the outbreaks of smallpox and Black Death or plague that caused several pandemics during human history, while trade and interactions helped exacerbate them across the Silk Road. However, an overall assessment of the outcomes of the exchanges along the Silk Roads reveal that despite these negative and harmful effects, the interactions have brought vast benefits and enriched human life and civilizations. For instance, the medical sciences have been one of the direct beneficiaries of these exchanges. During the medieval era, scholars made large contributions to the fields of medicine, pharmacology, and veterinary sciences, thanks to the circulation of knowledge and ideas. The movement of people and knowledge across the Silk Roads facilitated the widespread transmission of scientific work from different parts of the world, and making a broad array of scholarship accessible to the polymath of the day. Therefore, the reviewing history of the spreading of disease and epidemics along the Silk Roads would be inspiring for dealing with the challenges caused by the outbreak of epidemics in our contemporary world. It may be tempting in uncertain times to say that, okay, the situation like the COVID-19 context is harmful, and then conclude that the only way to prevent challenges such as spread of the disease is to restrict movement and exchange and somehow rule back the globalization and the connectedness of different cultures and people. However, the spread of Black Death, for example, in a world without the airplanes, the trains, and the cruise ships serves as a reminder that disease can move even without such a modern connectiveness of human beings. On the contrary, the history of infections along the Silk Road tells us that the most efficient way to overcoming on these challenges is further exchange and collaboration. Moreover, the history of the Silk Road shows us that there will not be any constructive exchange and collaboration as long as people of different cultures, countries, and regions can mutually respect each other and also be worried about each other's fate. With regard to such an importance, UNESCO has dedicated one of its major programs to the Silk Roads since 1980s. And since then, for more than 3 decades, UNESCO is advocating for the better understanding of the shared heritage and plural identity of the Silk Roads. Because this shared heritage and the plural identity link the people of different cultures and regions and countries to each other, and also is a basis for mutual respect and trust, and ultimately, efficient way for collaboration between them. Allow me to finish with this poem of an Iranian poet, Saadi Shirazi, that you may have heard his name, who himself was a traveler of the Silk Roads in the 13th century of the Common Era. Saadi wrote his 2 masterpieces of the Persian literature thanks to his personal experience of traveling and discovering different cultures between the Indian subcontinent, Arabian Peninsula, and the Mediterranean coasts. As Saadi says, human beings are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. Dear friends, to conclude, we need to learn from the Silk Roads that we are all members of the community of humankind and sharing the same future and destiny. Therefore, by inspiring from the spirit of the historic Silk Roads, we have to trust each other and reinforce our collaborations for the sake of overcoming the tremendous challenges caused by the COVID-19 in our today world. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Nadab, and thank you for your vivid interpretation and for sharing your understanding of Silk Road spirit. Yes, you're right. I think all of us are believing that human beings are members as a whole, and I think in dealing with current challenges due to the pandemic today should rely on everyone's contribution. And thank you again. And now we're moving to all participants' voices. And first of all, we would like to invite 7 speakers who, according to their summaries of good qualities, they will have 7 minutes to share their ideas. So every speaker, please pay attention to your time constraint. And first of all, please, let's welcome Manuel Aguilera. Please forgive me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. And you will share technological solutions to social problems. The floor is yours now.
Thank you. But did you say 7 minutes? I thought we had 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Yeah. So can there be technological solutions to social problems? Yes, of course. That's actually what I do for a living. Only this week, we have already trained more than 3,000 people through our e-learning program. But actually saying that solutions to social problem can be technological is an understatement. Every solution to a social problem is by definition technological. Change in social behavior, it's also a technology. However, we tend to overestimate technological tools. Any of you that has ever been to a hackathon must have seen hundreds of great ideas that never make it to the implementation phase. In the same way that a scalpel does not make a surgeon, a technological tool by itself can't change anything. If we want real social change, we need to discuss politics and discuss policies. Last November, I participated in the UNESCO Youth Forum, where 75 young leaders from all around the globe We were asked to cooperate with UNESCO in improving youth engagement in their programs. And our message was really clear. We need a seat in the decision-making table. We need to be a part of the discussion. We need elected youth representatives within UNESCO structure. For the last 7 months, we have been working with the youth section to create an online platform to connect youth from all around the world. This platform, that is going to be called UNESCO Youth Community of Practice, is almost ready to be launched. But as a scalpel doesn't make a surgeon, a platform doesn't make a community. The platform is only the building to host this community, but we need political articulation with youth from all around the world to make real change. We are facing a huge opportunity here, both for the will of UNESCO of giving an unprecedented leadership to youth, and for the magnitude of the challenges ahead of us. This opportunity must not be missed. To the UNESCO officers in the room, I would like to both recognize the opportunity and demand as youth to be acknowledged as partners to fulfill the UNESCO mandate. We are counting on you. The opportunity is too valuable and the risks are too high. And to my youth colleagues, we need to take every space we can. Nobody will give real power away. We need to conquer it by ourselves. We are the generation that is best prepared to use technology to leverage our chances to face this pandemic, but evidence is showing that we are also the generation that is going to suffer unemployment, global warming, and population displacement the most. Every time we resign to speak, somebody will do it for us. The Youth Community of Practice is an unprecedented opportunity to conquer youth participation spaces for the generations to come. Let's take every space we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuel. Now we have Marco from Italy who will talk about opportunity to test out the reach and possibilities granted by distance learning. Marco, you have the floor.
Thank you. Dear colleagues and organizers, greetings on behalf of Brazil and Italy, where I currently live. As this difficult time poses great challenges for education all around the globe, I invite the international community to reflect on the possibilities and opportunities of digital education. The COVID-19 pandemic forced us to transform the traditional learning settings into online environments in a matter of a few weeks, and the outcomes are yet to be assessed and analyzed. Even though distance learning is by no means a novelty, it is the first time that we see the implementation of its resources on a massive scale. I would like to point out, as a matter of fact, that we all have figured out very quickly how much we all miss our classes, our schools, our universities, and the human contact of the physical spaces where we share our knowledge in. However, since we are momentarily prevented from being together, we should make a collective effort and use this experience to test out the real capacity of such tools. Online learning should never be about replacing traditional schools. It should be about enhancing the educational experience and widening its reach in the first place. As we face this all together in the spirit of the Silk Roads, I wonder if we can use this moment to think about an age of global education, where we can merge local realities and unite people, and where we can finally establish real common standards and goals to provide fair and equal access to education for everyone, anywhere in the globe, digitally at the very least. I am aware that the world is not fair, and in many places there is no access to electronic devices or even access to the internet. In reality, this situation only exposed what was already evident. Our generation cannot accept it anymore, and we should concentrate our efforts to scrape these inequalities from the map. As I remain positive and dream of better times ahead of us, I believe that this challenge will help us genuinely shape the 21st education, this time for real. And I wonder, what should every human on the planet learn about? The great achievements of humankind, peace building, how to take action on behalf of the environment. Maybe we could also use this opportunity to share our tangible and intangible heritage on a more effective way. If digital education can help us transform every house into a school, then as teachers and students at the same time, let's take this opportunity to share our universal values. Finally, online teaching platforms should be largely used as a resilience strategy to ensure the right for education to everyone even at the most difficult and sad times like this one, either globally or locally, hopefully together or a few meters away from each other. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Marco. I think everyone would be very happy to hear that you mentioned that the global education, and I think you're right, and it's the time for us to think about the age of global education. And from your presentation, and I'm very happy to see that younger generations' actions has been undertaken by you and your peers and all of the other young people from the world to know the global education.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And the next one, let's welcome Xu Tiancheng to share his stories.
This is Chen Zhenshu from Nanjing. I was one of the delegates of IOF3, so nice to see you again here in this special dialogue. This year I'm studying for my doctor's degree of acupuncture and massage. Actually, traditional medicine is playing a special role in fighting COVID-19, in preventing patients with mild or medium symptoms from taking a turn for the worse. As a representative feature of culture and civilization, traditional medicine is often a medical science that was formed and developed in the daily life and in combat against numerous diseases over thousands of years. TCM has created unique views on life. It represents a combination of natural science as well as humanities, embracing profound philosophical ideas, which might be a little bit hard for non-medical readers. So as a young writer, I try to work out some blogs in a fashion and easy way for the young to understand and to spread the medical knowledge with natural phenomena around us. So if you went to Nanjing IOF3, you may remember this. Yeah, this is a year of airpoints, and actually when it turned up down, it's like a sleeping baby. And also, there is another example of the meridians on the body, the path of energy. So it's just like the rivers of the valleys and mountains. Those are some vivid examples to make the theory of traditional Chinese medicine. And through these examples, we can remember it and understand the traditional medicine. Words are carriers of medical knowledge, and words are most inexhaustible source of magic. Through words, we can carry on our faith and hope, capable of inflicting injury and remedies. Difference of habit and language are nothing at all if we have the same aims and our hearts are open. So with the courage and through our cooperation, we have tried our best, but we can do better. So we could heal the world on our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiancheng, and thanks to your hard work and all the work that is done by the medical researchers to eliminate prejudice and misunderstanding. Next, we have Nurul from Bangladesh. Nurul, you have the floor. Nurul, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone, and it's really an honor to see all my fellow alumni. So my topic was a bit critical because future planning to balance the socio-economic impact of the pandemic was way more critical than the other topics. As we all know, most of the countries with middle income status will face financial crises and recessions for which liquidity of cash and inflation rate will increase, making the supply-demand curve flat. As a solution, we can consider establishing a special economic zone with common currency to increase economical flow by removing tariff and trade barriers. Due to population density, education rate is already low in these countries, and due to the pandemic, the number of dropouts will increase drastically. and as a solution, introducing free vocational education over traditional education by distance learning through online platform can be introduced. We can also establish high-tech parks for IT innovation and research with mutual cooperation for future technological challenges. Moving to the good health and well-being, which will be highly affected and has already been affected due to this pandemic. Like, we need to establish a new health institution which will provide investment opportunities on health services and research, including medical supplies and infrastructures. And it will also benefit the health professionals in futures as to acquire knowledge to tackle this pandemic. This will also help in sharing the experiences and knowledge and scientific data from countries like China, who have been tackling the pandemic at a very early stage. Due to the pandemic, unemployment rate will increase. And as you know, I'm urging everyone to introduce an emergency fund and allocation of special budget package for need-based industries, and besides, employees should be encouraged to have a mandatory saving so that in case of emergency, they can use it. Because most of the countries, especially middle-income countries, its populations are facing tremendous economical crisis at this hour. We can also ask our government and institutions to start food bank with free food and shelters for the marginalized people in exchange of work. Emergency relief must be distributed to most vulnerable peoples. And at the very last, as you know, youth has to be the center of all. Alumni can support it by forming a youth task force for future work. As an alumni, I'm also urging for us fund to support all the fellow alumni who are in need of it, especially for their daily lives on a need basis. That's all from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you for your speech. Next, we have Kavinin from Mauritius. Kavinin, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, friends. I participated in the IYF2, and it is such a great pleasure to be able to share my views with you all. I want to start by telling you a story, that of my grandfather. Growing up on an island, I have always been close to nature. My grandfather, who was a fisherman, used to fish octopus for a living. He was literate to a certain extent and managed to read in French. But even without knowing the ABC of science, he knew that it was important to let the octopuses grow and reproduce before fishing them, because it was logical and actually the right thing to do. He had to fish to cater for the needs of his family, but he was also far-sighted and knew that his life depended on the way he interacted and cared for the sea and its marine habitat. I still remember vividly one of our last conversations before his death, during which he told me, "You know, nature is like our own mother. She will keep forgiving us time and again, but the day she gets angry, we will be doomed." As a Mauritian, I am confronted with two choices. That is either choosing to turn my back to the ocean and believe that my island is the world, or opening up to embrace the world while being a proud islander. I think that this global pandemic has allowed us to stop and reflect upon our lives, which are automated and which are built on habits. There are several lessons learned during the global lockdown caused by the COVID-19. The first one is the fact that we depend on nature for our survival, and we cannot exploit her ad infinitum according to our whims and caprices. We have to think of the future generation, because in a sense, we are the caretakers of our planet until we pass it on to the next generation, and so on and so forth. This leads me to ask the following question. What is the use of having a home if we do not have a planet to put it on? I see COVID-19 as a test to change our norms and automated habits. A radical change in our way of life is needed. COVID-19 has made people go back to basics, actually, from growing our own food, making our own soaps, beauty creams, oils with natural ingredients, like my wife and close ones have been doing, only to mention a few. We have to start somewhere, and I believe home is the ideal place to begin, and action is still louder than words, as goes the old proverb. On the other hand, if we carry on the way we used to in a post-COVID-19 world, ignoring nature's recall, then, like my grandfather would have put it, we may well be doomed. So let us stand together and win this fight against COVID-19 and any other future pandemics which may affect the world. Thank you for your attention. Siete.
Thank you, Kevin. And now we have Yulia from Belarus. Yulia, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I think my speech should be in another section, therefore forgive me in advance. The situation with coronavirus is very difficult in Belarus because we still don't have measures to isolate and remote. And everyone goes to work, to school, and holds mass events. Before pandemic, we started creating the Gadarki project. Initially, the concept was just to create a guide about the Belarusian creative cities in the year of website and mobile app. But now it has grown into more. Now we have engaged students and experts in this project. The main goal of the project was to accumulate knowledge about the cities of Belarus and their culture, historical, geographical, archaeological meanings to reveal the possibilities of their tourist and resource base. And of course, we don't have additional financial support to create a separate internet website, but we have a good technical base. So we are now gradually integrating the field of intangible culture heritage, in particular traditional crafts, into the project because ICH is priority for us. We are now transmission of knowledge becomes more complicated during the pandemic because, first of all, elements barriers, at least in Belarus, are usually old people, so they are in the risk group. Now we don't practice traditional rites of traditional skills, and ICH elements have risks for its preservation, and we need to urgently introduce measures in accordance with the Convention 2003. So we decided to change the concept of our project primarily to support local communities. Our internet portal represented a public culture web space where all information, traditional Belarusian crafts and rites is collected. The site provides the possibility of updating the database by any participants. Adding information to the database occurs on bottom-up basis. Any participant can add information about traditional crafts. The experts confirm the added information and gives an expert opinion, administrating forms and tasks for selling and promoting the item and list of activities on the basis of information. It must understand the intangible culture heritage is linked with ethical principles for preservation, especially in the socio-economic sphere. We learned this question and now we develop the structure of our research. First of all, it's creation of card elements with historical references, description of semiotic characteristics, research in archaeological aspect, monitoring of the existence, dynamics and development. Media library content includes artistic and educational videos, opportunity for inclusive education, popularization, and plus gallery and publications. Descriptions of techniques for creating products of crafts, creation of space of online conference and seminars, page with creation of profiles where will be barriers, experts, volunteers, and etc., with the possibility of filtering by characteristics. At calendar of events and status of events, and also crowdfunding zone. I hope this will help us to somehow to support the balance of traditions, especially in small cities, create sustainable development in the field of creative potential for young people, and of course preserve the traditions of our country, because many of them are now under the threat of existence. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Yulia. Now we have Hazim from the United States. Hazim, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to join with all of you. So speaking of the sacred spirit and how can we build a legacy-driven mindset, I was thinking that most of the results of all the trade routes throughout history have been to support development in some countries at the expense of other countries. However, human interaction along the Silk Road was relatively, was peaceful. Not only did people of different cultures exchange goods, but also their lifestyles. At that time, the Chinese learned to cultivate fruit and nuts, and in return, the greatest Chinese inventions such as the compass, the paper making, and the printing spread through West Asia and Europe. At this time now, we still need to revive these spirits, which was based on peace, cooperation, learning from others, and sharing results that benefit everyone. When the coronavirus first hit China, we felt that this virus is too far from us. People in Western Europe, Middle East, and Africa have found that China entrenched in their consciousness as a very remote place. This perceived special dimension made us look at what is going on in China as if it is happening in another world. And this contradicts our new realization that the world has become like a small village, and that what is happening in any part of it may reach the furthest spot very quickly. Let me quote what Sandra Zampa, an Italian government undersecretary in the Ministry of Health, stated about the spread of coronavirus in her country. She said, Italy viewed the example of China not as a practical warning, but as a science fiction movie that had nothing to do with us. And Europe looked at us the same way we looked at China. So if there is one lesson from this quote, it is how interconnected our lives are, and that cultural perception is an important condition in the human ability to respond to crises and overcome them. An important part of the crisis we are experiencing now is due to these inherited perceptions, which led to a miscalculation of the situation among even decision makers. By looking at the example of how Chinese people responded to the virus by tracking the cases along with the swift response to quarantine orders, all of these exemplify the nature of Chinese society and the impact of Confucianism culture, which is presented by a commitment to the well-being of the general public. Not only does China stand to demonstrate the impact of culture in tackling the coronavirus, but leading an effective policy to spare the country the risk of slipping into a very deep hole. This also reflects a culture of collective solidarity or a collective action. So culture has an essential role in fighting epidemics. A culture of social solidarity would be effective in limiting the spread of pandemic, but culture will not stand alone in the face of such a major problem. There must be vigorous and effective institutions that can transform this static culture into dynamic energy in order to get through this pandemic. Another common challenge is defining a clear strategy for collective action and establishing public trust between health authorities and people. For now, I think the practice of visual cultural exchange is a key to addressing these barriers, where people not only have the platform for discussions, but also the chance to improve attitudes towards differences. Now, every global crisis may be followed by information and communication crisis as well. And so we need to use people's cultures as inputs to create a new winning culture. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm done.
Please. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, we now move on to our 1-minute speeches. Now, I don't see many hands up on the screen, so please, people, if you want to share your ideas with us, please raise up your hands. Now, let's see. I have Miss Pang Yu.
Hello, everyone. It is my great pleasure to share experience and ideas with young friends around the world. I am Pang Yu, a writer in Nanjing. When COVID-19 broke out in my hometown Nanjing, thousands of young people and I in my city combat the virus together. We fought in hospitals, isolation wards, airports, railway stations, social communities. With our joint efforts, Nanjing, with a population of 8.5 million, achieved 0 deaths, and over 90 confirmed patients were all recovered. Besides safeguarding our cities, we tried all our best to help people in other places. We believe the virus is the common enemy of all mankind. No one is as if isolated on an island. We have donated medical supplies to cities around the world to contribute to overcoming such difficulties. We have invited member cities of City of Literature to design posters to travel Wuhan and convey the feeling of solidarity. Shortly after this proposal, we received posters designed by 20 cities of literature within 1 week. We have launched the International Literature Reading Activity of reading classics together to comfort the height of the world with the strength of literature. In the face of the pandemic, we firmly believe that the unity and cooperation are the most weapons. Thank you for listening. Looking forward to seeing you in Nanjing in the near future. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Pang Yu, for your sharing. I see the power of literature in dealing with COVID-19. So every speaker, please, I kindly remind you that everyone now has 1 minute to speak. So please pay attention to your time straight. And next one, I see Fernando, your hand. So next one, Fernando, the floor is yours now. Fernando, can you hear me? Okay, now we will move to Delphi. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Dear friends, as a young college teacher in Beijing, my first content of the seminar has adapted to community cultural planning and communication under the influence of the COVID-19. We focused on the family media literacy during the COVID-19. All of the students made an online degree. They focused on promoting the development of the community through online cultural projects during the pandemic. According to the survey data, the link system between family and the society community needs to support and participate and part of those force. On the one hand, social support can help communities to establish online community balance through online mutual assistance and promote the efficient use of the media by families. On the other hand, the participation of young students in the voluntary activities of COVID-19 can update the cultural conditioning of the community, and they can use more new media to promote the spread of public health and activate the cultural variety of community. And thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Garfield. Now we have Frank Huaj-Liu. Frank, you have the floor.
Okay, from my friend, this is Frank from Chengdu, so glad to see you again. Last year, I also participated the IYF in Korea, and the same is inclusion and inclusiveness, which means we are equalized in the world and we are all in this together. We know that the only way to keep the world running is keep no one left behind. So, speaking of the circular spirit, what I want to present is, instead of being stopped by the pandemic or spirit and or cooperation with other countries, we are continue expanding cultural influence to more people, more country. And now it's more than a silk road with international trade or cultural exchange. Now it's a healthy silk road proposed by our Chinese government. And I think we can enhance the public health cooperation, we can enhance the control of infection disease or health assistance, and what's more, we can improve our personal training for our next generation. And that's all. Thank you. 谢谢。
Lalo, the mystic word of we are humans who lose the essence. I think it's very important to think about it now as we know how systems move to otherwise. Both that's like one. Systems. Actually, it's borders. Lalo, the mystic poet of our land, says if you do not revere humans, you lose the essence. I think it's very important to think about it now as many of our systems move to be otherwise. Whole of humanity is just like one common interfacing body. So if our disease hits our door, it will hit our brains. So make real plans to work with the coronavirus affected side throughout the response. What will happen is it will definitely change the course of us. Not personally, not widely, not properly.
Thank you, Fazia. Now we have reached the end of our session. Thank you all for your precious inputs. Now, please, our plenary closing ceremony will start in 7 minutes. Please return to the plenary meeting shortly. See you later. Thank you.
Dear friends, welcome back. Without much ado, I would like to invite the rapporteurs to share with us highlights of the Panorama session. For session 1, Dr. Oya Peng, you have the floor. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, this is Ya Peng, the rapporteur of session 1. And to be honest, this is probably the most energetic and dynamic and enriching forum I've ever participated, although it's a several one. And I'm so honored to listen to all of their stories, and I feel empowered and inspired as one of member of this global youth community. In our sessions, we heard many challenges that we are commonly facing during this COVID-19 pandemic. Let's say we commonly face continuous conflict, we all confront with poor health system, and And also we face the challenge to promote energy transition in this post-carbon period. And we also have this infodemic. So but luckily we heard many more encouraging stories and good solutions, good practices emerging from the youth-led actions. And so a commonly good tool is the social media, and we find there were so many solutions using social media like Facebook, WeChat, WhatsApp to help those vulnerable people and to organize the community into a common consensus and a common action. And also the youth actions proved to be critical to address a mega crisis like COVID-19, whose influence covers all social dimensions, cultural, economic, and environmental. And also the actions also convince us that we need to create a virtual space for not only promoting mutual understanding and also to promote social interaction, to mainstream youth engagement. United we stand, but to stand together, I believe we need to cooperate. We need to exchange experience and new knowledge, and we need to learn from each other. I think this is a common task to all of our young people. And so time flies, and hopefully this ongoing global crisis will soon be overcome too in a very short time. And I'm sure after listening to all of our encouraging volunteer stories and experience from the whole world, we will be proud and assured of our work that we are doing. And meanwhile, we will be more confident and motivated to work together to make our contributions that will go beyond our home city and country to places with emerging pressing needs. May the good health be with you and your family, my young friends, and may the peace always be with our common humanity. Thank you all for your good deeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Yapeng, for a very, very brief, but also, trying to cover some highlights of your session. Thank you for your introduction. For session 2, Ms. Hannah Getachew, you have the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. First, I would like to thank the organizers at UNESCO Changsha in Nanjing for hosting this special International Youth Forum. We are all delighted to participate in the IYF once again. This forum has done great work in bringing young people along the Silk Road together and has received high praise. For example, in August 2018, President Xi replied to a letter on the IYF and called upon youth from Africa and China to work together for a community of shared future between China and Africa. Session 2 on creativity, employment, and entrepreneurship, challenges and opportunities for youth was opened with introductory remarks by Ms. Yuan Hong of Tencent, who gave a comprehensive overview of Tencent's contributions to the Sustainable Development Goals, its participation in UNESCO's Global Education Coalition, and mentioned that Tencent's QQ platform has seen an uptick in young people sharing their original creative works. Here are some of the key points that were raised by participants during the session. 1. Billions of young people are on lockdown, which has affected the creative sector along its entire value chain. 2. Creativity and innovation is commonplace among young people. Youth are the ones best suited to discover innovative solutions. We must change our mindset and see challenges as opportunities that can push us to learn and grow. 3. We need to have more conversations on how to resolve youth unemployment during and after the pandemic as economies take a hit. Data shows that the unemployment rate of young people in some areas is 3 times higher than that of adults. 4. Online commercial activities are booming as people wish to engage with businesses digitally. This is an area where there are business opportunities for young people. In the online space, young people are not constrained by geographic location and should seek remote opportunities as well. 5. Youth should be innovative in knowing how to build entrepreneurial communities around different sectors, and also focus on encouraging each other's well-being during this difficult time. 6. Youth have been taking advantage of online learning services such as free online courses as a means of advancing their skills in online marketing and other sectors during the pandemic. 7. There is widespread appreciation for frontline healthcare workers, and there are multiple initiatives across the world that show gratitude and respect for those in the healthcare sector. Hospitals and the Asian Language and Cultural University assisted medical teams in Hebei overcome language barriers so that they can communicate amongst themselves with ease. 8. Young people are volunteering in many different ways, and moving forward, we can expect to see volunteering remain a widespread activity among young people. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Huang Yu, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Huang Yu, a sophomore student in East China Normal University. It's a great honor to be the rapporteur of Session 3, of which the topic is cooperation, inclusiveness, and mutual learning, super spirit in the COVID-19 pandemic. Before summarizing the brilliant ideas of the speakers in my session, let's take a glance at the super spirit mentioned in our topic. As we all know, the super spirit has rooted in a long history where people from different countries around the Silk Road has had commercial and cultural exchanges. Nowadays, with the Belt and Road initiative, President Xi summarized the spirit of circle spirit as the spirit of peace and cooperation, openness and inclusiveness, mutual learning and mutual benefit. So, in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, what are the new interpretation of the circle spirits given by our fellow speakers? I have generalized our agreements into the following 3 levels. First of all, we have reached a clear consensus that the global crisis reminds us again that the fact that we are all connected in a community of shared future. Just like the speaker from Mauritius has said, we only have a unique home, which we should take care and protect together. Secondly, we all agree that the best way to fight the COVID-19 pandemic is global level is to share the solutions with an open mind in order to learn and benefit from one another's experiences. And our youth should be in the front line. For example, youth from Argentina has shared his proposal of technological solutions to the pandemic. Representative from Italy suggested the promotion of global education and digital learning. And youth from US proposed virtual cultural exchange. Last but not least, together we strongly disapprove the stigmatization and antony, which cause nothing but harm. Instead, we emphasize the importance of cooperation, bilateral trust, and support among individuals, among cities, and among countries. For example, Dr. Xu from China had hoped to eliminate prejudice and misunderstanding by spreading medical knowledge, including traditional treatment. To conclude, in a challenging time of COVID-19 pandemic, the super spirit has new connotation. Instead of pointing at each other and being hostile, we should unite as the community of shared future. When facing global crisis, we believe that it's necessary to carry out dialogue like this on the basis of equality, inclusiveness, and harmony, so that we should build a healthy, prosperous, and peaceful Silk Road. That's why we are so grateful to the special dialogue for a precious chance to share thoughts and learn from each other. Thank you again, and best wishes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Huang Yu. Thank you, dear rapporteurs, for your introduction. I have no doubt that the discussions are very interesting and worthy of revisiting. Dear friends, Changsha, as the host city for the previous 3 sessions of IYF, has impressed all of you with its beautiful sky, colorful fireworks, delicious food, and friendly people. With a long history of 3,000 years, the city is embracing the future with creativity and power of youth. The mayor of Changsha, Mr. Zheng Jianxin, is here to deliver a special message to us.
朋友们，大家好，我是长沙市市长郑建新，很荣幸和大家互动交流。长沙市拥有3000多年悠久历史的文化名城，更是一座迸发创新活力的青春之城，先后获评东亚文化之都、世界媒体艺术之都。 2019年4月，联合国教科文组织通过了由各国青年发起的长沙倡议。长沙作为这一倡议的发起地，正在抓紧实施 C+C 全球青年创新伙伴关系计划，为全球青年互联互通、人文交流和创新创业贡献长沙力量。正如习近平主席同古特雷斯秘书长所说的那样，人类是一个休戚与共的命运共同体。在这次全球抗击新冠肺炎疫情中，善良质朴的长沙人民与世界人民一道，守望相助，同舟共济，共同护佑人类的康宁。来自长沙远大集团的 P8 可持续创新社区的青年，用自主创新的新版技术，帮助韩国建设了524个床位的负压隔离病房。3一重工、中联重科等长沙智能制造标杆企业向意大利、德国、伊朗等疫情严重国家捐赠了所需的抗疫物资。长沙还向法国昂吉、巴西桑托斯等8个创意城市发送了抗疫海报，表达了关切之情。疫情必将过去，曙光必将到来，胜利必将属于我们。我们期待能与朋友们早日相聚 IYF4， 感受长沙的青春创意之美。
Thank you very much, Mr. Zheng and colleagues in Changsha. The city of Nanjing has been playing an equally important role for the IYF series. Our thanks also go to colleagues in Nanjing. Dear friends, Tencent is a young internet-based company of 22 years old. Its high-tech and cultural innovations and products have changed the lives of millions or even billions of people. We are especially grateful to Tencent for providing technical support to this special dialogue. Let's now welcome Mr. Li Hang from Tencent to deliver closing remarks. Mr. Li, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear Ms. Merosa, Mr. Qin, Mr. Zheng, and the distinguished guests and our outstanding youth representatives online, good evening. This is Vincent, and I'm glad to join this session on behalf of Tencent. Tencent has a great collaboration with UNESCO and the United Nations, especially during the pandemic. At the end of March, UN and Tencent jointly announced our global partnership. Earlier this month, UN China and Tencent launched the campaign of Youth Dialogue on the Future to support SDG. Within 1 week, we received 700,000 applicants. Today, we are honored to support this special dialogue hosted by UNESCO and Chinese National Commission for UNESCO. I hope every one of you enjoying this seminar on Wolf meeting. Today we have so many young people gathering from the globe, and Tencent is also a platform where youth coming together. 21 years ago, we launched QQ, an instant messenger and a social platform for young people, and now we have 700 million monthly active users on QQ. We also listen to the music, watch videos, enjoy animations on our digital content products. And recently, we were invited to become a member of the Global Education Coalition launched by UNESCO, providing distance learning tools to teachers and students over 100 countries and regions globally. The impact the pandemic has on our life is profound. As staying home continues, we will feel lonely, terrified, and sad. Those time-honored cultures stand as the best legacy passing down to present days, healing and warm. We realize now than ever before that the conservation of heritage is important, and inheritance of traditions needs creativity to adapt to our times.
so that they will be seen and heard by more people. Because of this, we started Next Idea campaign 8 years ago. I'm glad to announce the launch of 2020 Next Idea New Culture Creativity Contest. Our vision is use creativity brings world heritage to life. We want to invite every one of you to share your creativity on the world heritage through the format of music, writing, short video, and product design. Today we talk about Belt and Road. I believe it's not just for commerce, but also a road of culture. Over the past years, Tencent has established partnerships with the Palace Museum, Dunhuang, the Great Wall, and the France National Museum Union. Millions of young people created wonderful works throughout campaign, some of which are developed into products. We hope to encourage you to bring world heritage to life for inheritance, so that culture heritages along the Silk Road will continue to shine in the future. So thank you everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Li, and for your message. And we would also like to thank your team for providing the support for us. Dear young friends, since the conception of the IYF, Dr. Maraza Olivela has been working closely with the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO and local governments for building and strengthening this unique platform. I'm sure she needs no introduction. Dear Maraza, you have the floor.
And hello, IYF alumni. It is really great to see your faces, even if it's only virtually. Who would have thought that this is how we're going to be meeting again? To all our participants, our presenters, our colleagues, our rapporteurs, I hope that wherever you are, you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. To our partners from the National Commission, to Changsha and Nanjing, our municipalities, our partners too, thank you so very much for your collaboration. And to Tencent, who is hosting our platform and dialogue today, thank you very much. Everything since the pandemic started changed so fast. So many things we believed were true turned out not to be. We thought that richer societies would actually be better prepared than poorer ones at fighting a global crisis. Wrong. We discovered that what really makes a society capable and resilient is not wealth. It's the presence of a very high degree of social trust. Trust in the institutions that make the right decisions. Trust in each other to do the right thing. That everybody sees decisions as legitimate and follow them. We thought that the workers who got paid the most were the ones that had the most value to societies. It's wrong. The low-paid nurses, the garbage collectors, the food deliverers, they have proved to be fundamental to our survival, many times at the cost of their own lives. No country has declared millionaire or celebrity an essential worker. Our lives have been reduced to basics. The walls between which we quarantine, the family members who are home with us. We work in our pajamas, I confess that I do, and keep wishing to go back to normal. But what we had before should never have been normal. People working 2 or 3 jobs and still being under the poverty line. Knowledge societies where poor students and teachers have no access to the internet. Our grandparents living in elderly facilities that prioritize cutting costs over care. Women in the workforce still expected to shoulder most of the home's work. These racial, generational, economic, gender inequalities are no longer hidden. As my colleague John Crowley mentioned in his opening speech, our fragilities have become visible. We can't ignore or dismiss them anymore. In a world as interconnected as the pandemic has demonstrated we live in, social injustice proves to be our biggest source of risk. And compassion towards the vulnerable, on the other hand, our biggest strength. Communities that defeated the virus did so by coming together to give the vulnerable in their communities the support that they needed. We need a new world, not to go back to the old one. We need a new world with less indifference and more kindness. Our societies will all be more resilient, more capable of facing stress and adversity if we build them back to be more equitable and sustainable, more compassionate and collaborative. If we understand and care for each other, if our communities inspire and unite us, if we truly trust that we have each other's best interests at heart. Young people have an enormous advantage in this crisis, and not because the mortality rate for the virus is higher for older than for younger people. Their biggest advantage is that we were born at and are comfortable in a world that is now connected through technology. As most of us old people remain inside physical walls and closed borders, the voices of a generation of millennial netizens have never been more predominant, more powerful, and more important. So keep raising our voices. Use them to demand a different normal. The one we had before was not that good to begin with. Our talents, skills, creativity make you completely capable of building the world and the lives that you deserve. Lives that are more about human values than about monetary value. Lives where success is measured by what we give back, not what we selfishly hoard. UNESCO is committed to working with you all the way. This dialogue is just the beginning of a long conversation on youth response. Together, I hope we will strengthen the fabric of our societies. And in our case, I hope that this fabric is made of silk, and that all the roads that have brought us together so far keep bringing us together in the future. So thank you so very much for coming to this dialogue, and let's start this new road online. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Mariaza. If we collect Mariaza's speeches during the past several years about our IYF, I guess we will have a very good collection of essays about open heart, social cohesion, and youth power. And I thank you very much, Mariaza, for your long-standing passion and support for this work. Dear friends, the Chinese National Commission for UNESCO, as the governmental body coordinating between UNESCO and China, including governments at different levels, private sectors, and individuals, has been working relentlessly to promote the missions and goals of UNESCO in the past 40 years. Being a proud supporter of UNESCO, the Chinese National Commission has been advocating for Priority Africa, gender equality, and more opportunities for youth. Now I would like to invite Mr. Qin Changwei, the Secretary General of Chinese National Commission for UNESCO, to deliver his closing remarks.
Mr. Oliveira, Representative and Director of the UNESCO Beijing office. Mr. Zheng Jianxin, Mayor of Changsha. Mr. Li Hang, Vice President, Chongqing Youth Development Program Committee. Dear young friends, I'm delighted to join all of you in this special dialogue of the International Youth Forum. Since we sent the invitation of this event, more than 120 young participants from over 60 countries have registered. It manifests the solidarity of us and the relevance of our theme, the youth response to COVID-19 in this global challenge times. Having observed the interventions of the plenary and the parallel sessions, I'm deeply impressed by your courage and the resilience, talent, and the creativity. To summarize, I would like to use 4 keywords. The first keyword is the responsibility. In local communities, hospitals, education institutions, or even in the quarantine, the youth are shouldering their responsibilities, rising to challenges posed by the pandemic, and volunteering
to contribute passion and expertise. The second keyword is creativity. During this difficult time, I'm very happy to see resilience and optimism on your faces. Challenged by this unprecedented pandemic, you are exploring new ways to make a difference, leveraging creativity to overcome difficulties, providing new perspectives and solutions to mitigate impacts of this pandemic. The third keyword is solidarity. The outbreak of COVID-19 manifests that we all live in the shared community. Such connectivity and the interdependence of people in different corners of the world necessitated on solidarity. And to overcome the pandemic, I'm happy to see that in the battle against COVID-19, you have been upholding the spirit of science and fight against racism. And the fourth keyword is action. Those youth are doing their part. Different stakeholders are also taking action. I'm happy to learn that Changsha, UNESCO Creativity City of Media Arts, and Nanjing, UNESCO Creativity of Literature, are ready to offer more opportunity for youth to explore in the coming years. The next idea, New Culture Creativity Contest, the Tencent have just announced, will also serve the potential platform for all of you to make a difference. The Chinese government attaches great importance to youth. I noticed that some participants talked about Chinese President Xi Jinping's encouragement and expectations for younger people. In his letter to IYI participants in August 2018, of his letter to post-19th generation doctors saving lives in Wuhan this March, and his letter to Pakistani students studying in Beijing this week. President Xi has been encouraging the youth to shoulder responsibility, contribute to promoting people-to-people connectivity, and building a community with a shared future for mankind. For the concrete initiative to promoting creativity, dialogue, friendship, and cooperation between youth, the series of IYIs have established diverse and inclusive platform for cooperation, exchange, mutual learning, and mutual understanding. The Chinese National Commission for UNESCO endorses UNESCO's effort to empower youth and stand ready to support youth to play an even bigger role. To conclude, I'd like to thank Mr. Qi, Mr. Oliveira, and UNESCO colleagues in Paris and Beijing, the colleagues in Changsha and Nanjing for their long-standing collaboration. I'd like to thank Tencent company and so many colleagues here today for the perfect technical support. Most importantly, dear young friends, I want to thank you for your participation and input to this successful special dialogue. You add beautiful colors and bring hope to this world full of challenges. You should be proud of your contribution, and the world should give you applause. I think we should clap for all of you. I look forward to meeting you in person in the future, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Qin. Thank you, all the speakers. Colleagues, dear friends, we have had an intensive special dialogue. Your input is very important for you, for us, and also for the world. The organizers will share with all the participants the pictures and the full video of this special dialogue in due course. Thank you all. Bye for now.